Hi, welcome to Learn English in Practice with Marie. Today we're going to do Advanced Vocabulary Builder lesson number 56. We'll go through 10 advanced words and talk about their definitions, parts of speech, and a couple of example sentences. We'll finish up with a story so we can get some extra practice. This is a series, so if you like this video, go ahead and subscribe. And let's hop in. Let's read these words. Inundate, Nefarious, Curtail, Rail, Demure, Stingy, Olfactory, Moratorium, Proscribe, Vacuous. First, inundate. This means to overwhelm someone with things or people to be dealt with as a verb, or to flood as a verb. So the idea of inundate kind of has this motion implied. It's to kind of come on and overwhelm, flood in, bring in kind of a lot of energy or a lot of something. For example, when I walk into a bowling alley, I am inundated with a number of sounds. The sounds of balls rolling, the sounds of people cheering and music and all sorts of things. So inundate is to kind of just come at someone. Examples are, the heavy rain caused the river to inundate the surrounding areas, leading to widespread flooding. Social media influencers often inundate their followers with sponsored posts and advertisements. Nefarious. This is heinously villainous as an adjective. So when you hear nefarious, think evil, someone very, very bad. Often the villain in superhero movies is a nefarious sort of character, someone who's up to no good, trying to do things that are bad. Examples here are, the detective was determined to uncover the identity of the nefarious criminal behind the series of thefts. The citizens rallied against the nefarious policies of the corrupt government. Curtail. This means to lessen, reduce. It's a verb. So to curtail something is to make it shorter, make it less than. I might, for example, curtail a speech where instead of going on and on and on, I'll curtail it and make it shorter. Examples are, the company had to curtail its production due to supply chain disruptions. The organization decided to curtail its expenses by reducing unnecessary spending. Rail means to scold, protest as a verb, or it can mean a bar or series of bars as a noun. So as a verb, think of the word rail as to convey dissatisfaction, to say to someone that you're doing something wrong, to be mad at them, to express this anger or dissatisfaction. That would be to rail against someone or something. And then in the noun sense, you know the word railroad. Railroad refers to a series of rails on which a train runs. So there we have an example of rail in a noun. So these two examples show rail as a verb. Let's go ahead and listen to the examples. The speaker used the opportunity to rail against the injustices in society during the protest. The activist organized a rally to rail against environmental destruction. Demure. This means reserved, modest, and shy. It's an adjective. So this word is commonly associated with women, which is, kind of sexist, but there's this idea that young ladies should be demure and wear a neckline up to their collarbone and be polite and speak only when spoken to have this reserved and very modest sort of sensibility that is associated with demure. I'd imagine you'd send a young person, a young woman, or anyone to a school for manners if you want them to become demure. Examples are, she had a demure and reserved demeanor, often avoiding attention. Despite her demure appearance, she was a fierce advocate for women's rights. Stingy. This means not generous, not inclined to spend or give. It's an adjective. So someone who's stingy doesn't want to spend unnecessary money. And not only do they not want to spend unnecessary money, they go to the extreme. I know there's a show called Extreme Cheapskates that's popular in the United States. And in that show, people will go to extremes to avoid spending money. There's an episode where a woman feeds her house guests cat food because that was the cheapest that she had available. And of course, the guests are horrified. This woman was stingy. She didn't want to spend her money on a proper snack or meal for her guests. So often the word stingy is associated with the extreme of saving money or the extreme of not giving money or generosity. Examples are his reputation for being stingy made him reluctant to lend money to friends. The boss's stingy approach to employee benefits led to low morale among the staff. Olfactory. This means of or relating to the sense of smell as an adjective. So when we're using the word olfactory, we're referring to things that are smelled. And typically I've heard this in the context of an olfactory experience. For example, I had an olfactory experience when I visited a cheese factory. There were a lot of different smells as the cheese was being processed. And in terms of the sense of smell, it was a very rich and overwhelming experience. Examples we have are the bakery's aroma filled the air, enticing customers with its delightful olfactory experience. The olfactory senses are closely linked to our memories and emotions. Moratorium. This is a temporary prohibition of an activity. It's a noun. So a moratorium is essentially a stoppage of something. There might, for example, be a moratorium in a school on pizza day at lunch until the students behave. Maybe pizza day is the most popular day, and if the students are misbehaving, we'll put a moratorium on pizza day until the students have earned that right back. A moratorium is intended to be lifted eventually. Examples are the government imposed a moratorium on new construction projects in the protected area. The university declared a moratorium on certain extracurricular activities due to safety concerns. Proscribe. This means to condemn, outlaw. It's a verb. So the idea of proscribing is to say something is bad and not allowed. And we just learned moratorium. So to tie those two together, a moratorium might be put on a behavior that's proscribed in some way. All right. Examples we have are the law seeks to proscribe the use of plastic bags to reduce environmental pollution. The government can proscribe organizations that promote hate speech or violence. Vacuous. This is lack of content or ideas. Stupid. It's an adjective. So if you're calling something vacuous, that's definitely not a compliment. It has a negative connotation. So something that's vacuous is lacking in substance. I used to teach university students, and a lot of times our discussion boards would turn kind of vacuous because the students were required to do discussion posts. So someone would post something of substance, and then all the responses would be something like, I agree with that great point, or that's really interesting. What a good idea. Those are very vacuous responses. They're adding nothing. There's no content. I probably wouldn't go as far as to say stupid in that context, but yeah, not a lot of substance there. Very vacuous. Examples we have are her vacuous expression hinted at a lack of interest in the conversation. The celebrity's interviews often showcased her vacuous responses and lack of depth. Let's read a story for extra practice. Two business partners, Mark and Jason, once shared dreams of success. However, jealousy soon inundated Mark's heart. With nefarious intentions, he hatched a plan to sabotage Jason's reputation and business. Under the guise of concern, Mark advised Jason to curtail certain expenses to improve profitability. Little did Jason know that Mark's intentions were far from sincere. Mark began to rail against Jason's decisions, subtly making their clients concerned. In public, Mark maintained a demure facade, masking his true intentions. Behind closed doors, he manipulated events to make Jason appear stingy and unreliable. Mark's nefarious scheme included using his olfactory experience to create false complaints about the quality of Jason's products. As the rumor spread, the town's residents called for a moratorium on supporting Jason's business. Mark's plan to proscribe Jason from the community's trust began to take hold. Jason, confused by the sudden decline in business, couldn't fathom the vacuous nature of Mark's betrayal. In the end, Mark's nefarious actions succeeded in tarnishing Jason's reputation. The once thriving business began to wane, succumbing to the impact of Mark's calculated scheme. The demure man everyone had known had transformed into a manipulative and cunning saboteur, leaving Jason to navigate the aftermath of Mark's actions. Let's read these words one last time. Inundate, nefarious, curtail, rail, demure, stingy, olfactory, moratorium, proscribe, vacuous. Great job today. There are other videos like this on this channel, and there will be more to come. I'm planning on doing 100 advanced vocab videos like this at least. So stay tuned for more. I'll put playlists and videos right here. Please ask any questions you have in the comments, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks so much. Bye.